at Indy, Wade Cunningham claimed victory with this daring last lap pass of Jay Howard in the Freedom 100. Now the reigning series champion is looking for win number 3 in his last 4 starts. And this year's points leader, Howard, well, he's hoping to follow up a pair of seconds with his first victory. The Corning 100 from Watkins Glen International is next. Put the seatbelts on the sofa. We welcome you to the Finger Lakes region of central New York, home to historic Watkins Glen International Raceway, and scene of today's Corning 100, the landmark 50th race in the brief 5-year history of the Indy Pro Series. Hello, everyone. Along with IndyCar expert Robbie Buell, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us. And Robbie, the whole purpose of this series was to develop the future IndyCar stars of tomorrow. In fact, a driver who led the most laps in this race a year ago, Marco Andretti, almost just won the Indianapolis 500. Now, who are some of the young stars we should watch for today?
Well, this field is full of talent, but one guy is Jay Howard. He's been on the podium at every event this year. He's leading the points chase. He's going to be a car to watch for. He's driving for Sam Schmidt. Then we got Wade Cunningham. He's starting 4th in this event. He's our champion from last year. He won the Freedom 100. He's going to be a guy that's got something to say. And then we have Bobby Wilson, who's starting on the pole. He's driving for Ken Hartley Racing that won this race a year ago with Jeff Simmons.
Well, 10 different drivers have made the move from Indy Pro Series to IndyCar Series racing very successfully. And one of those who's made that move, standing by with Nicole Mansky.
Watkins Glen, the only road course event Marco Andretti did not win last year. He came in second, and of course, if you watched the Indy 500, you saw the history this 19-year-old almost made, almost winning the Indy 500. How did the Indy Pro Series set you up for what you've been able to do this year in the IndyCar Series?
Well, it's been great. I mean, first of all is the tracks. All the tracks that you run at are, obviously because it's on the series of IndyCars, but if I wouldn't have ran here last year, I wouldn't be where I am, starting 3rd today. But it's the same sort of formula now. We just have more power, so which is what any race car driver wants anyway. So it's perfect. And if IndyCars is where you want to be, that's where you need to be first.
You're out here taking a sneak peek at this Indy Pro Series race. Who are you watching, and who do you think will do well today?
Well, just the ones on our team, and I don't know. I'm watching Jaime and, of course, Jonathan, but I don't know. There's a lot of tough competition this year.
Marco Andretti, thank you very much.
All right, take a look at our Klein Tools starting grid. There's Bobby Wilson making his 8th career start on the pole here. Alex Lloyd, the young man from Isle of Man, United Kingdom, on the outside of row 1. Back in row 2, Phil Giebler driving for Ken Hartley Racing, and Wade Cunningham, the reigning series champion. Back in row 3, Jaime Camara, who won 2 times a year ago, flew to Indianapolis, and Jonathan Klein, a 19-year-old young man driving the Klein Tools turnkey forging machine. Row 4, 18-year-old Sean Guthrie, a special day for Sean this weekend. We'll tell you more later. And beside him, Nick Russell, who's got a record going thus far in IRL Indy Pro Series competition. Back in row 5, Jay Howard. There's the points leader. Had his troubles in practice. We'll tell you about that in a moment. An 18-year and 5-day-old C.R. Cruz becomes the youngest driver in the history of Pro Series competition. Had his birthday just 5 days ago. Back in row 6, Rafael Matos. He won both events at St. Petersburg, and beside him, last year's winner in Phoenix, John Hurd. In row 7, Brett Van Blankers from British Columbia, Canada. The 18-year-old beside him, Matthew Hamilton, driving the Kiwi American Racing, the efforts of Dave McMillan. In row 8, Ari Lyondike Jr. making his 42nd career start, fresh off that run in IndyCar racing at the Indianapolis 500. And beside him, Michelle Abbott in the Michael Crawford Motorsports machine. In row 9 is Chris Festa out of Atlanta, Georgia, driving the Cheever Racing Form Tech effort for Eddie Cheever. All right, take a look at our Lucas Oil keys to the race here, Robbie.
Yeah, and starting position. When we say starting position, these guys have had qualifying already. The grid is very important. When they got out there to determine that grid, they did it on rain tires, but not as wet conditions as it is right now. So what kind of cars are they going to have in the race? Then we have race downforce. You can't have too much downforce in the car to finish the pass, and yellows and restarts, that's an opportunity to pass guys.
All All right, we are underway here. As we can see better than they can, I promise you. The Corning 100, and it's slippery out there headed to turn 1, and they are on those Firestone Firehawk rain tires. Wow, if ever you want to, well, what a great job the tires are doing. These guys are doing hanging on to a very slippery racetrack.
Yeah, and the thing that's amazing is look at the rooster tail. The guys up at the front there, Bobby Wilson, he's loving it, but everybody behind him, they can't see a darn thing.
As a driver, I guess you don't mind being out there by yourself, but in traffic, how in the world do you see it all?
No, it's really incredible what you have to look for. When you're back here in this mist and all this rain, you have to look to the right and left, reference off those breaker boards. Those are the only things you can see. You can't see what's in front of you.
They call this the bus stop at the end of the back straightaway. They go left and back again hard right, and they will head down the hill. This is turn 5, the big sweeper down the hill, as they head down into what they call the boot, a very fast and treacherous part of this course.
Yeah, and that's Wade Cunningham. He's gotten into second place. You can really see his car looking for traction as he's putting the power down, sliding back and forth.
Alex Lloyd behind him, driving the automatic fire sprinklers machine for Gary Peterson. Lloyd, the young man out of United Kingdom, impressive young driver. He is tiptoeing here in this first lap, but a move being made back there by young man, that is Jonathan Klein, who made the move on the outside and almost got in a little hard on the braking.
Yeah, he made it stick. The one thing about driving in the rain, and we'll come back and talk about this a little bit later. There's Phil Giebler we saw real quick. I think he's very good there. Out in these conditions, all you're doing is you're searching for grip. Where does the track look like there's grip? The normal racing line, that usually becomes polished and comes very slick. The dry line where people are running and braking and putting oil down all the time, that's where it's really slick. In these conditions, you got to run anywhere you want on this racetrack, anywhere where you think there's a little extra grip.
Again, they're at Watkins Glen International Raceway. It is the 3.37 mile, 11 turn permanent road course, and your onboard camera now. If you take a look at our onboard camera, the Lucas Oil onboard camera here with Jonathan Klein coming beneath the Corning Bridge to complete lap number 1.
Yeah, and there he is. You're all the way up to 5th gear as he's going down the front straightaway. And we'll be going down into turn 1. Turn 1 is a second gear corner. Now, in these rain conditions, keep in mind, it may be a little bit different. But as you come down off of turn 1, right there, he's coming through 2 and 3. These are the flat-out S's. You're going up through the gearbox, up to 4th gear there. He's kind of cresting the hill, a slight left turn. And now he'll be setting himself up for the back straightaway. Gone to 5th gear right there. Now he's on the back straightaway. There's 6th gear. You can see the vision is just horrible in these conditions looking out of his in-car camera. Down to what we call the inner loop or the bus stop. That's actually a 3rd gear corner. These guys float a lot of speed as they go through this corner. Coming off of there, going to turn 5. Turn 5 is a flat-out corner. In dry conditions, 4th gear, 100 miles an hour through that long sleeping corner. Right now in these conditions, again, they're running a little different line, searching for grip. Heading down to turn 6, that's a 3rd gear corner. Again, very fast. It falls away there. We can't get a sense of the elevation change right up here.
Here's a car off the racetrack. That's a 3-car, Brett Van Blankers out of New Westminster, British Columbia, the Inner City Recycling Machine. He's one of the Brian Stewart racing cars, the teammate for series champion Wade Cunningham on a brief off-track excursion. We are in the early laps of a very rainy Watkins Glen International Raceway. Bobby Wilson, the leader here, after 1 lap is complete. Back in a moment. Well, a special presentation. There is Sean Guthrie, his dad, former IRL Rookie of the Year Jim Guthrie, giving him his high school diploma. He was supposed to graduate yesterday at Sandy Prep High School out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Obviously, he was here qualifying his Indy Pro Series car, so Dad had the diploma center, and he made a presentation earlier in the media center. So congratulations, Sean Guthrie, now an official high school graduate, but now an official entrant here, running his second ever race in the Indy Pro Series.
Yeah, no, Sean has done a great job. I know he's excited to make his first debut here in the Pro Series at Indianapolis. So now what we see, look at the spray coming off those rain tires. When that spray gets up in there, it hangs. It just makes the visibility nothing when you're behind somebody.
All right, here they come charging. And that left-hander out of turn number 11, they will head to the start-finish line, and the green flag will wave. Once again, we were under yellow a moment ago for the spin by Rafael Matos over in turn 9. Matos spun the Guthrie machine. Here's a challenge. Bobby Wilson getting a bit of a challenge. Wade Cunningham makes the move by and takes the lead.
Yeah, Wade had the pass done. I mean, Wade timed that restart beautifully and had the pass done as they were going by start finish. We're on board right there with Bobby Wilson. So looking up ahead of Bobby Wilson is Wade Cunningham. And you can see the visibility is nothing. Something to think about. We talked about the starting position in qualifying. In qualifying, the top 5 qualifying spots were determined in the last lap of qualifying. Different conditions to this. They were on rain tires, but it wasn't this wet. It was in between. These are just horrible conditions. The morning warm-up today, these guys did have an opportunity to get out there and see what their race cars can do. And there's Jonathan Clyde, that red and white car. He is really challenging Alex Lloyd right there, just hounding, looking for a way by.
Jonathan Clyde in the Andretti Green machine. Of course, the Klein Tools sponsorship. His dad, the CEO of Klein Tools. Jonathan, just 19 years of age, very impressive, has run awfully well in just the 4 starts he's made in this series. And Jonathan Klein, having finished 5th at St. Petersburg in both events, finished 6th at Indianapolis last weekend.
Yeah, and you see those two guys battling. That's Jonathan Klein, the red and white car, and then Alex Lloyd. Is in the rain, as I said earlier, you're looking for grip. And when you see guys run around the way high side of the racetrack, you call that a rim shot. And there's just grip up there because you normally don't run. And you'll see guys do it through this turn right here. They'll stay high on the track. That's not a normal dry racing line. Usually a normal dry racing line is from the outside of the track to the inside and then back to the outside. Here the guys just stay on the outside of the track, a rim shot.
As you watch the 24 car now, Bobby Wilson moving in back now on Wade Cunningham. The officials here in this league had made the decision, Roger Bailey and company, to make everyone start on the wet tires, on the Firestone Firehawk wet tires. But they do have an option to go to dry tires later in the race if it dries out enough. Whoops, well, here's a move on the inside. Wilson trying to make it stick. Will it stick on the inside?
He's not going to get it done down there. Sure enough, there's Wade running the high side of the racetrack. That momentum carried it by. But, you know, anytime you get offline or you're passing under wet conditions like this, you just don't know how much grip you have on the racetrack. So you have to give yourself a little bit of margin for error. And you look at these two guys battling. Remember, a couple of years ago, Bobby Wilson in 04 was the Formula Ford Z-Tech champion, and Wade was his teammate for a little bit during that.
Well, you look at this 24 car running second here a year ago, and right about there a year ago with 3 laps to go, the guy driving that car made a pass to win it, and he's standing by with Nicole Mansky.
That's right. Jeff Simmons was able to steal one of the road course events from Marco Andretti. What has that race taught you to prepare you for the IndyCar Series race taking place this weekend?
Well, I don't think it taught me a whole lot for this one, really. It looks like we're going to have really strange conditions, and it's going to make it kind of anybody's race, I think. But obviously, I was patient last year and kind of waited for a mistake in this sort of race. If it's going to be wet like it is right now for the IndyCar race, then I think that it's going to there's going to be a lot of mistakes made.
Being one of the first true graduates from the Indy Pro Series to the IndyCar Series, do you feel any pressure to succeed, to say that these drivers are ready to move on up?
Well, I mean, I think Marco's doing a pretty good job of showing that the Indy Pro Series guys can drive. I mean, he did well last year, and obviously I know there's a lot of people that are pulling for me to do well and want to see me do well because they've been involved in the Pro Series. So,
Jeff Simmons, thank you very much. We'll see you later on.
Jeff won 4 races a year ago. Now, of course, driving the ethanol machine for Ray Hall Letterman. Had 4 wins a year ago as is tied for the series record, Indy Pro Series record, I should say, with 7 career wins with Mark Taylor. So a lot of people, these guys here, are pulling for Jeff Simmons and Marco Andretti to do well. So more and more owners will want them to make that step up into the major leagues of IndyCar Series racing.
Yeah, and one of those guys is Wade Cunningham. He wants Jeff Simmons to succeed out there. I was talking with Wade last night, and he's all for that because Wade is one of these drivers, being the past champion here of the Pro Series. He wants to get into an IndyCar, and the more guys that succeed and show the IndyCar folks that they're ready and this is the best training ground out there, that's all a good thing.
All right, Wade Cunningham leading here. He won the last time out at the Freedom 100, led wire to wire at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Although he had to make that last lap pass to get back by Jay Howard, he won it, and he's leading here. When we come back, we'll talk to Wade Cunningham and talk about his accomplishments and his aspirations for the future. 6 laps are complete. Back in a moment. Back at Watkins Glen International Raceway, the Corning 100. We are under the second full course yellow of the afternoon. An incident involving our third place car. There's the damaged machine of 21-year-old Alex Lloyd, who was running in third behind Wade Cunningham and Bobby Wilson. What happened to him? Well, it's a familiar place for some of the drivers this weekend. Turn 6. Watch what happened.
Yeah, just watch the guy. He just runs out of a little bit of racetrack, gets up on that white paint, slides on that, and then the grass, and just slams us outside of the wall.
Now, earlier in the qualifying on yesterday afternoon, our points leader, Jay Howard, had almost an identical incident up in Turn 6, and he came in, and in fact, the accidents looked almost the same. We'll show you what happened to Jay Howard yesterday.
Yeah, that's pretty much an overlay. Those two guys in that incident was overlay. And as the track's slick, you're looking for grip. Remember, you're looking for grip, and you're sliding through turn 6 up there saying, come on, bite racetrack, bite racetrack. Then you get up on that paint. You don't want to touch that white paint because that's slick. You get on the grass, and it's almost like you hit the gas as soon as you hit the grass and slide up into the wall.
Well, Jay Howard ended up starting back in 9th spot and has now moved his way all the way up to 6th position. But they're chasing these guys as they come down to complete lap number 13. They will head under the Corning Bridge, out of turn 11, down to the green flag once again. Paul Blevins and Brian Howard waving the green up there in the flag stand as Wade Cunningham will lead him down into turn 1.
And they are, look at, there's not hardly as much rooster tail coming off these cars. So now these guys have had a chance to repack, regroup because of the restart here, and there's not as much spray. So guys now can see where they're going to try and challenge and pass the guys up front.
All right, Cunningham, Wilson, Klein, Phil Giebler making a move a moment ago. Giebler driving the 40. Whoa, and here is Sean Guthrie spinning around. He's the young man we just saw get his high school diploma from his dad earlier in the day. And a couple of cars have spun.
Yeah, and that looks like the team car. Matos. So that is in turn 4. That's the fast 2-3 up the hill S's here onto the back straightaway.
And those are the two Car Crafters cars. And ironically, there's the Car Crafters teammate. Car Crafters, a collision repair center owned by Jim Guthrie for last 24 years in Albuquerque. So how appropriate that Car Crafters will be on the side of those two cars colliding or spinning off the course.
I'm not sure. We'll have to go back and look. I don't know if they did it independently or together, because Raphael was further up the track from Sean, so maybe we can recap here and we'll figure this out.
Sean may have gotten, we're being told he may have gotten pinched off and had to jump on the binders to keep from hitting someone. Let's see if we can see what happened.
Okay, here we're watching the guys. They're coming through turn 2. They did that independently. There was no contact. We had Raphael in the yellow car up ahead, out of our screen. That's Sean Guthrie in the yellow and blue car. Both of those guys just got a little bit loose as they went through turn 2. Turn 2 is a very fast corner. That is, they're probably running through there in 4th gear right now, maybe 3rd gear. All depends how good of a shot they're getting off of turn 1. And as I watched that, it looked like they kind of just in tandem both got loose. Fortunately for Rafael Matos, he didn't hit anything. Unfortunately for Sean, didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work, and they're under a yellow once again. Our leader, again, is Wade Cunningham, and we asked the Reigning Series champion to share with us your memories of that Indy win a week ago, and also tell us what that does for you in the months ahead.
To win in front of 100,000 people and hear everyone cheering and standing up, and people are crowding Victory Circle, that was pretty special. I think in the past, the series hasn't had credibility, but now you are getting the top young drivers wanting to come here. Matos and Bobby Wilson, Giebler, Jay Howard, who won Formula 4 2000, all these people want to be here because they think the IRL is where they want to go. And so for Jeff Simmons to be there with Rahal is so important for us as a series to do well. I really want him to prove that we are good enough. I think if I just keep doing what I'm doing, I'll get noticed and get an opportunity, and that's all you can ever ask for. I proved that I can race smart. I think I've proved that I can think about points or a championship or something bigger than one race. And I think this year it's just about proving that I'm fast and that I can win.
And last season, Wade Cunningham was a vision of consistency. This year had off to a rough start. He's always come out and said, you know what, I don't think I can focus on the championship there this year. His car owner, Brian Stewart, says that is not the case. You believe your driver can win the championship. Is that not right?
I do. I sat down with the team. I said, listen, guys, if we qualify in the pole, lead all the laps, and win every race, we can win the championship.
Some people might say that's a bit ambitious.
Well, yeah. But, you know, we've got a long history of winning races, and I think it's possible. I think it's doable. I know we'll be strong at Nashville. We were very strong there last year. We led Milwaukee for 98 laps last year, and, you know, a lot of the other racetracks we've been really good on. I know we'll be good at the U.S. Grand Prix. We finished second there last year, and I just think it's doable.
And we were talking earlier about drivers who can make the jump from the Pro Series to the IndyCar Series. Brian Stewart says his driver, Wade Cunningham, is definitely one of them. Guys?
Well, Nicole, obviously looking at Brian Stewart, he is a member of the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame. He was an Indy Lights owner for 15 years, 29 poles, 31 victories, and listen to the litany of drivers he had at Indy Lights. He won a championship with Paul Tracy and Eric Bachelard, Brian Herta, Ayrton Darre, Jacques Lazier, Felipe Giafone, P.J. Jones, Cristiano D'Amata. When he has a driver drive for him, they basically are going to be successful, which bodes pretty well for Wade Cunningham. Brian Stewart, a legendary owner in Canada, and now a reigning championship owner here in Indy Pro Series competition. And Brian Stewart's driver, Wade Cunningham, leading. Here's the trouble for Nick Bussell, the 23-year-old driver for Cheever Racing. He had set a series record by running it to finish in the last 18 consecutive Pro Series events. Also had 14 consecutive top 10 finishes, just 2 shy of the record, and he will not chase that record today. His record will end here because he's pulled off the course with a problem over in the backside of the boot.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunate for Nick. And we're back up with our leaders. Wade Cunningham followed by Bobby Wilson. You can see the track is starting to dry out. There's not any spray coming off these tires. These are rain tires. Everybody is on these rain tires. They are softer than normal dry tires. If they can't keep these tires wet and cooled down, they start chunking. We'll talk more about that as we go on here. Look at the run Bobby Wilson has, getting into one.
He got a run the last time on the restart, couldn't make it stick. The track is drying. Got it stick here. Wilson on the inside. Cunningham can't stay on the outside. And this time, Bobby Wilson makes the pass stick and takes the lead.
Yeah, and there's grip. There's more grip now on the lower side of the racetrack there, because Bobby tried that same move earlier, and it didn't get done. Now he's made it done.
10 laps to go here at the 3.37-mile Watkins Glen International Raceway. Wade Cunningham was the leader. Wilson has made the move. Now they're on the bus stop. Whoa, contact up there as Klein gets by.
No, that was actually, I think that was Phil Giebler that was looking on the inside of Klein, and he's the one that get crossed up there.
Yeah, Klein got crossed up. Giebler backed out and let Klein stay in that spot. Klein is in the third position. Giebler is fourth. Jaime Camara is fifth. As you see the running order coming across the top of your screen.
Yeah, and why you're seeing a lot more aggression taking place. Obviously, the visibility is better because there's not as much moisture on the racetrack. But a concern right now is you have to manage these race tires. These rain tires are a lot softer than normal slick tires. And in dry conditions like this, the front tires, as that tire's pushing across the racetrack, will start chunking. So you need to look for any moisture on the racetrack to cool those tires down.
Got to be a lot of strategy going on in the pits. What happens if you have to make a tire change? What do you do and how do you do it? Let's check in down there with Nicole Mansky.
Well, we're very used to seeing these Firestone Firehawk slick tires, but these are the tires the drivers are on right now, these wet tires. The thing to consider, there's very little difference between when the track is wet and when the track is dry. When the track is completely wet, they want to be on these wet tires, but right now the track is rapidly drying. Now, rain is not in the forecast for the next couple of minutes. If they need to come in and pit, these teams don't normally do pit stops. Only 3 people are allowed over the wall. We could see a lot of stuff happen on pit lane if they're forced to come in and pit. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Nicole. There's a look at Jaime Camara in the Selg machine, one of the Andretti Green Racing drivers. He is currently being shown in the 5th position behind Phil Giebler. Well, right now, Bobby Wilson is our leader, and as Nicole mentioned, these teams do not normally make pit stops. They're going to only have 3 guys over the wall to try to keep costs down, which should make it quite a challenge to come in and change 4 tires. Want to find out how that works in just a moment.
Next time, use FedEx.
Back at Watkins Glen International Raceway, Inside the final 10 laps of this one, Bobby Wilson the leader, Wade Cunningham in second spot. Wilson the 24 car. The same car for Ken Harley that won here a year ago with Jeff Simmons aboard. Second place car Cunningham. There was Klein going by. Here's a challenge for the 4th position, and that is Phil Giebler being challenged by Jaime Camara. And here's another one of the cars off the track, and that is the other Cheever racing effort that has made a venture off track. And of course, not a good afternoon. That's Chris Festa. And there's a look at Eddie Cheever, not happy to see that he's had now 2 cars go off the racetrack in the last 2 laps, and he can't be a happy camper right now, Nicole.
He's watching the replay right now. Have you been able to see what happened with Chris Festa?
No, I haven't. I was sitting here talking to you, and it looks like he had a problem. He's missing a left rear suspension, so I don't know. Obviously, he hit something.
With Nick Bussell, he's been so consistent, just now shy of breaking that record. Have you been able to talk to him? How disappointed are you as a team owner that he's been able to go out of this race today?
We're not really sure what happened, but we think it might either be a fuel pump or something electrical system. The weather out here is horrible, so water could find a way into anything. I don't really know what happened, but it was unfortunate because he was having a good race. Being in the back in the beginning on a wet track like this for a new driver is really tricky because you can't see anything and you're going all on instinct, and hard thing to do.
All right, Eddie, thank you. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Sorry for Eddie Cheever's troubles here in this race. Both cars now out of the Corning 100. Well, the rains continue to come down here as we are under yellow once again at Watkins Glen International Raceway. Back at Watkins Glen International Raceway, the Corning 100, laps clicking away. Bobby Wilson, our leader, with Wade Cunningham, Jonathan Klein, Phil Giebler, and Jaime Camara rounding out the top 5, still under a full course yellow. Now, one of the better IndyCar Series races on road and street courses is standing by with Nicole Mansky.
Dario Franchitti may actually be looking forward to racing in the rain today. Now, you said earlier to me, and I'm hoping you were just joking, I came out to watch this race to see where the puddles were. Are you learning anything?
I'm learning a lot. I'm out here supporting Jonathan Klein, but at the same point, I'm learning some stuff. You see how quick the track dries up, how quick it rains again. So I don't know what's going to happen in our race. This one's been a real interesting one. We've got twice the length of time, and I guess twice as much time to cause some mayhem, so it could be interesting.
You and Jonathan Klein share the same sponsor in Klein Tools. Have you been able to work with Jonathan at all and kind of coach him along in his first year in the Indy Pro Series?
Yeah, a wee bit. There's some times that I can come down and watch what's going on. Other times we're just too busy, but he's doing a good job. He's really learning. He's running third there, which is really good in these conditions, and I think we'll look out the last couple of laps. He's going to be coming.
He has a road course background. Has he come to you more so on the ovals?
He's actually got quite a good feel for the ovals. But he comes and asks some good questions. All the month of May he hung out with us at Indy. And he saw how lost we were on occasion, so I think he learned some stuff from that. And he's done a good job, a really good young driver.
And in case you didn't notice, Dario Franchitti, smart, well out of the rain, guys.
Dario Franchitti, he was the pole sitter at the Honda Grand Prix of St. Petersburg early in the year, led the first 14 laps prior to breaking a ball joint down there. Had the dominant car. Is a 4-time winner in Indy car competition. His last win coming in the finale last year in California. This is the guy he's talking about, Jonathan Klein, who has been very impressive at the tender age of 19.
Yeah, and he's not just been impressive here in this race at Watkins Glen. He's been very impressive all year. But it was interesting to hear what Dario said. We talked about as the track was getting drier and what these guys had to do to cool their race tires down. Now, all of a sudden, it started raining again. But why you have to look for puddles? Dario said, I'm out here to look for puddles. He wasn't kidding when he said that, because when you get standing water on this racetrack, and yes, you have these rain tires, but the big surface areas on these tires, you hit a puddle, these cars hydroplane. Even with having grooves on the tires, as fast as these cars are going, if you hit a puddle, you hydroplane and you're along for the ride. So that's important.
And some of the drivers are saying when the track is dry, you can use the entire racetrack, even the painted margins off to the side, the white lines, when it's wet. Someone said you want to stay clear of that painted area.
Don't want to even think about touching any of that painted area when it's slick. And we saw kind of where Alex Lloyd got off there. He got on a little bit of that paint right at the end, and you don't have a chance once you get on that paint if it's wet.
All right, Bobby Wilson, who is a driving instructor at the Ocala Grand Prix School in Ocala, Florida. He teaches young drivers to drive go-karts and road course competition, that kind of fair. So obviously he's a pretty good guy to learn from here. He's leading here as the laps click away. Just 7 laps remaining here, or 5 to go, I should say. at Watkins Glen International Raceway.
Yeah, and keeping in mind, we got to get through these 5 laps, but this is a timed event, an hour and 10 minutes if that comes before 29 laps.
All right, here's the restart. They'll take the hard right-hander, go beneath the Corning Bridge. Green flag waving once again, and can Wade Cunningham make the move on Bobby Wilson that Bobby made on him on the last time out? No, Wilson pulling away by some 4 car lengths.
Yeah, it's not going to happen this time. And there's Jay Howard, that white car pulling out to the inside right there by Jamie. Jamie looking back to the inside. Oh, he's going to get it done as they drag race down to turn 2.
The 7 car is Howard. The 11 car is Camara. Howard is the points leader, had the off-track excursion in qualifying. Howard not willing to give the spot up, gets back to the inside of Jaime Camara as they come to the S's.
Yeah, and that's hardball racing right there. Remember, we got slick conditions. These guys are on rain tires that are used up, and that's a very fast, narrow section of this racetrack.
Again, it's the Indy Pro Series. These drivers hoping to make the step as Marco Andretti and Jeff Simmons and others have done up to the big brothers, the IndyCar Series. A year ago, it was Marco Andretti who led the bulk of this race. Jeff Simmons made the pass with 2 laps to go to win the race. Now both those guys full time. Here's Jaime Camara going to the inside. Can it stick?
That is a huge pass. Going down into turn 6, there's a huge elevation change there. And again, these slick conditions, for him to poke his nose down there, that is one hungry driver.
Jaime Camara is a protege of Tony Kanaan, who's one of the best when it comes to driving on a slick or rainy surface. I'm sure TK probably said, I taught him that.
Yeah, watch this as we take a look again. They're coming off of turn 5, very fast, 3rd gear corner. Look at them pop at the last minute down into turn 6. Look at the puddles. Look, there's not much grip there.
Boy, just ever so ginger on that brake pedal, got back in the throttle, got enough grip to make that pass stick. Great job.
Yeah, and remember, that is right where Jay Howard crashed in warm-up and hurt his car. Excuse me, not in warm-up, in yesterday's qualifying session.
Laps winding down. Can Bobby Wilson hold him off? He's trying to get his first ever win in Indy Pro Series competition to make it 2 in a row for Ken Harley Racing at Watkins Glen. Back in just a moment. Watkins Glen International Raceway, rains coming and going. Bobby Wilson showing the way here. Wade Cunningham back in second spot. Now is Jaime Camara trying to move in now on some of these other drivers. As Phil Giebler is there, Jaime Camara. Now there's 3 laps to go. There's Camara in the 11 car.
Yeah, did you see that? There's Jonathan. Jonathan did a little tip of his head. Just looked to his right-hand mirror just to see where Jamie was poking. You see, he just tipped his head a little bit. He said, okay, I know where you're at.
Yeah, these are the cars that are running 4th and 5th. Klein is in the 27 car is 4th. Camara is 5th. Of course, the Jay Howard car he just passed a moment ago back at 6th.
Yeah, and keep in mind now, the conditions once again have changed. We are drying up, and we're concerned about these guys saving these rain tires and having enough moisture on the racetrack. All of a sudden, we had a little bit moisture come through and just put a little bit more dampness on the surface.
Well, I'm impressed with these Firestone Firehawks. What kind of grip they have when they run through the puddles and the standing water. They still grip the racetrack.
Yeah, the Firestone guys, they do an awesome job. And remember, a rain tire is a lot stickier than a dry tire because you're usually running a rain tire when it's a little cold and damp, obviously, and you need to have that extra grip. But once the track starts drying up, that rain tire that's just that little softer compound, it starts chunking and doesn't like it.
Boy, here is Camara now moving to within half a car length. That's the battle for 4th spot. Wilson, Cunningham, and Giebler the top 3. Hey, great job by Phil Giebler, by the way, running in 3rd position.
Yeah, I've been watching him the last 2 days in the rain, and he's just been pretty smooth and consistent, getting his confidence. He's driving for a great team owner, Ken Harley, and he was very calm and collected when I was talking to him last night.
There's some more moisture on the front stretch. The sprinkles are coming and going here. 2 laps to go.
Yep. And there's enough moisture here where visibility gets to be an issue. Like I say, if you're up leading somebody, it's no big deal. But if you're trying to pass somebody, just like Jaime Camara is right now, when you get up on that gearbox, you can't see what's in front of you. So what you have to reference off of is something to the right or the left, whether it's a braking board or some barrier that you know.
Well, now the sprinkle has become a downpour here in this on this course with 1.5 laps to go. It was sprinkling a moment ago, and then the rain had just moved in. Rained, the fog, and these guys have to battle the racetrack, the elements, and each other here in this final lap and a half.
Yep, and now they're just coming off of the inner loop of the bus stop. And there you visually, again, Doc, you can see that rain coming down as we're taking a look at Bobby Wilson.
Bobby Wilson trying to tiptoe around Ken Hartley's cars, running first and third. Wilson and Giebler. Wade Cunningham, the champion, in second spot. There's a look at Bobby Wilson, 24 years of age. From Wisconsin, Ken Hartley Racing making his 8th career start. And here's a car going off the racetrack. That is Ari Lyondike Jr., who fresh off that his first ever run in the Indianapolis 500 last week. Here comes Bobby Wilson around. Woo! And the car just sort of almost steps out on him coming up to turn, was this turn 7, turn 9?
Yes, no, that right there, that is turn 9 that they're coming off of. He was coming off at turn 8. And as this race goes on and these tires wear down, you know, they have less and less grip. But the whole key to having a good race car in the rain is being able to put the power down. And what you saw there from Bobby Wilson, he would try to put the power down. It just got sideways as he did it.
White flag comes out. Paul Blevins, Brian Howard in the flag stand waving the white flag to Bobby Wilson.
And I tell you, that's a big gap back there to Wade Cunningham right there. So it looks like Bobby, barring any mistake, he's going to get this thing locked up. But in these conditions, who knows? Look at where Phil Giebler is on the back of Wade.
Yeah. Giebler moved in. It was about 8 car lengths. Now it's about 4 with a lap to go.
Yeah, well, as I said, you know, I've been watching Phil the last couple of days as he's been running in the rain, and he's really looked smooth and consistent. So if he can see, which looking at our screen right there, he can't see very much, but if he could see a little bit, he's going to try and put a move on Wade.
Phil Giebler, who won his oval track Indy Pro Series debut at Homestead last year back in 2004, finished, had 4 top 5 finishes and 7 starts a year ago, looking for a full-time ride. I'm told that Tom Wood will be in this car for the oval tracks the remainder of the year for Ken Hartley, but they're still in Infineon. And so if Giebler could possibly get a good finish here, right now he's running awfully well, he may earn himself a ride out at Sonoma at Infineon Raceway later in the year.
Yeah, I wonder, Phil, of last year, he did a little bit of that A1GP series. It's that brand new series where different countries are having representatives, and there's about 24 of them. They race all over the country.
Final lap here for this young man. 24 years of age, Bobby Wilson trying to come around and pick off the win.
Yep. And if you look where these guys are running, remember we said earlier, I talked about looking for grip in a rim shot. Those guys are running around the very edge of the racetrack. That is not a normal dry line, but there's grip up there. And if you have camber or banking to any type of corner, if you get on the high side of that corner, obviously that rain's rolling down the track and there'll be less moisture sitting up on the top side of that racetrack.
Well, his owner, Ken Hartley, has won 5 times the last 2 years. He won 4 times a year ago with Jeff Simmons, won the opener this year with Simmons at Homestead, Miami. And if Bobby Wilson can hang on for this last quarter of a mile,
look at that.
Here comes his teammate Giebler trying to make a move inside of Cunningham. Final turn, here they come. Giebler, can he make the move on the inside? Cunningham goes wide. Giebler's trying to get the car to stick. The checkered flag waves for Bobby Wilson. Who will finish second? It will be Wade Cunningham by a car length and a half over Phil Giebler, Jaime Kamara, Jonathan Klein comes by, Jay Howard, Brett Van Blankers, John Herb, C.R. Cruz, and Matthew Hamilton rounding out the top 10. But how about that run by this young man, Bobby Wilson, 24 years of age from Wisconsin. Great job by Mark Moore, the team manager for Ken Hartley, Mike West, the crew chief there. And 2 years in a row, Ken Hartley's cars win it here at Watkins Glen. Jeff Simmons a year ago, and now Bobby Wilson. And now that's why everybody's pulling for Jeff Simmons and Marco to do so well, because this is the series where the future IndyCar stars are coming from, and this is one of the guys you mentioned.
Yeah, these guys, that was really enjoyable racing up front. But let's think back. You know, we talked about keys to this race and starting position. Bobby Wilson, he did a great job in qualifying. He was sitting back about 6th or 7th in the qualifying chart. On the last lap of qualifying, he hung one out and got himself on the front row in pole position. And that's a big deal in terms of how you're going to start this race. Any race that you can be at the front, it just improves your odds of winning.
Well, Bobby Wilson will drive he takes over the seat, by the way, with Jeff Simmons going over to Ray Hall Letterman Racing. And as you look at this car going by, celebrating and waving to the fans, I'll tell you, speaking of Ray Hall Letterman Racing, word is that Graham Rahal, Bobby Rahall's 17-year-old son, will drive for Ken Hartley Racing in the Liberty Challenge at Indianapolis coming up on July 1st. I talked to Bobby Rahal this morning. I talked to Ken Hartley, and it looks like that's going to happen. But even though he's not 18, he can drive in that event at the Liberty Challenge. So Graham Rahal, who's off running Atlantic's competition, will be able to drive for a championship kind of team, possibly get his first start on the road course at Indianapolis. And here's a guy who's got to be smiling ear to ear. Great job for Bobby Wilson. You see the Ocala Grand Prix sponsorship. That's where he works as a driving instructor there in Central Florida.
Yeah, and that's a go-kart school for the serious racers, what that all is. It's very serious stuff, and he loves doing that. And as a race driver, you know, you want to be driving anything, whether it's golf carts that you're racing, or lawnmowers, or go-karts or race cars. As a young driver, you want to be behind the wheel as much as you can. And that's why it's a great opportunity for Graham Rahal to get and run at the Liberty Challenge. The more stuff that you can run, the more you're going to learn, the more you absorb, the more experience you gain as a driver. There's some donuts in the wet.
And I know he's been waiting a while to do that, making his 8th career start here today. The young man Bobby Wilson on the pole for Ken Hartley Racing takes the victory. When we come back, there's your look at the top 10. We'll come back, we'll talk with the winning driver in victory lane. Well, the second annual Corning 100 is history for the Indy Pro Series cars and drivers. And Bobby Wilson, well, he becomes the 19th different winner in the 5-year history of Indy Pro Series competition. The rookie driver in only his 8th career start takes the win. Wade Cunningham, reigning series champion, who won in the Freedom 100 in Indianapolis last week, is second. Phil Giebler, the team car for Ken Hartley Racing, finishing third. Jaime Camara did a heck of a job for Andretti Green Racing in the 11 car. He's the protege to Tony Kanaan, finishing fourth. Jonathan Klein, the 19-year-old rookie driver, is fifth. Jay Howard, there was the points leader, coming from ninth start to finish sixth. Brett Van Blankers is seventh. John Herb, the winner at Phoenix a year ago, eighth. The youngest driver ever to compete in the series, C.R. Cruz, makes his debut at 18 years and 5 days old and logs a top 10 finish. How about that? Good job, C.R. Cruz, out of Dallas, Texas. And Matthew Hamilton, driving the Dave McMillan entry, he finishes in 10th. Here's a look at 11 through 17. Ari Lyondike Jr. had that off-road excursion and finished a lap down. There's Michelle Abbott, Rafael Matos, and those that were out for problems here in the afternoon, Festa, Bussell, Guthrie, and Alex Lloyd. As we head down the victory lane and check in with the winner.
Bobby Wilson climbing out of his car, just 8 starts. His first right now, his first win, his first appearance in victory lane. Obviously very excited. Bobby, congratulations. You held on, you passed Wade Cunningham there. What did you do along the backstretch of this race?
I just had to make every move count and save the tires and, just adapt to the track. It was constantly changing. The rain would come down. One end of the course would be a little more wet, and just keep it on the road, Visibility was a big thing, so I wanted to be out front, so made the move.
I mean, how are these conditions? These conditions are fantastic. You got to love the rain.
I love the rain. I come from karting. At Ocala Grand Prix, we do a lot of go-karting there, and that's my sponsor. So whenever it rains, I get out there in a go-kart, and I go out and practice, and I think that paid off today.
Let's talk about the pass for the lead. How did you make it happen?
I just had a really good run off the last corner, and I stayed right on his bumper until he started braking, and just had to make it happen. Did the old slide job.
This car was in victory lane last year. Your owner has to be very pleased. What did Ken Hartley say to you?
Ken's, I think he's very pleased right now. Hats off to the whole team. Doug, the engineer, Mike, the mechanic, all the guys there that, put in the long hours. It paid off.
Bobby Wilson, 8 starts, 1 win. Congratulations.
All right, great job for Bobby Wilson. Talking about Doug Zister, the engineer, and Ken Hartley and company. And Mike West, his crew chief, along with Mark Moore, the team manager. And he made that move look easy, but as a driver, you've been on wet conditions many times. You look at the point standings. It was very difficult to make that pass in those wet conditions entering turn 1.
Yeah, and he tried to make that pass earlier in the race when it was a little wetter in turn 1, and he didn't get the pass done. So that was some good racing. And remember, as we said earlier, these two guys being being Wade and Bobby, they were teammates for a little bit in the Formula 4 2000 series. So they're good buddies, and they respect each other. But when it comes down to making a move to win a race, you got to do everything you can. And that was a good, clean pass, good, clean racing between both Wade and Bobby all day.
A difficult afternoon here in rather adverse weather conditions. There's a look at the final finishing scoreboard. You see the 24 car up there. Wade Cunningham finishing second. Bill Giebler is third. Jaime Kamara fourth. And by the way, we mentioned that Wade Cunningham, who missed both events at St. Petersburg because of an emergency appendectomy, now moves into the top 10 in points after this second-place finish. And so, Nicole, he's got to be feeling pretty good, even though he did finish second.
Well, second-place finish. Are you happy with it? You don't look very pleased.
No, we're really disappointed. We came here to win, and we were quick all practice. The worst we were in practice was second quickest. So, to lose the win in the last 8 laps, whatever it was, is disappointing. We had a really good car in the damp conditions, but then when it got a little bit wetter, we were really struggling. So, I'm disappointed for the team because, it would have been great to get back-to-back wins. But, we'll move on and we'll go to Indy, and we know we've got a good car, so we'll keep plugging away and go for the win there.
Talking to your owner, Brian Stewart, earlier in the day about how it's important for you to get wins, to get noticed, to make it up into the IndyCar Series. Can you continue to do that if you run like this today?
Yeah, we're disappointed with second, so that says something about the strength of the team. So we'll be back, and, I'm sure we're going to be going for a lot more wins this year. We're going to go to some tracks that we fared well at last year, and we've improved everything, so I expect to be quick, and, we'll make up for it then.
Wade Cunningham, second here in Watkins Glen. Guys?
And those Firestone Firehawks, the rain tires, they have grooves cut in them to help the water. He's got a rain haircut, got groove cut in the side there to let the water dissipate by. Is that what that's for, you think?
I was sitting there with him last night, and we were talking. I said, what's up with that haircut? And he said, I gotta change that a little bit.
All right, let's check in with the third-place finisher. He's with Nicole.
Well, you were trying to do the best that you could to get up there at the front. Talk about that move just at the end to almost get you into second place.
Yeah, I was trying hard. I really wanted to finish second and have a 1-2 finish for Ken Hartley Racing, and I was pushing as hard as I could, but there was a yellow flag up in the bus stop, and I gave too much of a gap to Wade. I couldn't actually see where his car was, so I didn't know how much he was braking, and I just heard yellow. I didn't know it was a full course, so it was pretty tough to gauge, and he got away from me, and I caught him back there at the last 2 corners and had to go at him, but just didn't have enough there in the last 100 meters or so.
Still finishing first and third, Ken Hartley. Not a bad day here in Watkins Glen.
Great job by Phil Giebler as well. Hope to get him back maybe at Infineon later in the year. Well, the weather and the competition were both a challenge today, but no one was going to rain on Bobby Wilson's parade. Our next stop, the Liberty Challenge, Thursday, July 6th, 2 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2. For Nicole Mansky and Robbie Buell, I'm Jerry Punch, once again congratulating that young man, Bobby Wilson, on his first ever win in Indy Pro Series competition. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. So long, everyone, from a wet Watkins Glen International.